Hello. We got some rain. Not that much, but a shower. And you see the sky is still cloudy. It's also a bit chilly, but here and there when the sun comes out, then we get solar power and also some heat. I don't know exactly what the temperature is, but it might be 20 or maybe even a little bit less. And you can see how my arm looks like. So I have been cutting, chop and top, here and also in some other places, so that the plants produce the biomass to feed the soil. So we are basically irrigating the weeds and then we chop and drop them, and that way it seems to work that we are making soil. I showed you the palovnias before, so they are great, and I had removed the branches below, so that was good. We still need to finish this, but first we are doing a little bit cleanup, and that means to get rid of all the bits and pieces that we have laying around in all kinds of places, and we are trying to get organized, and that also includes to get organized inside of the cortijo. So I guess in the last video I showed you quite a bit of chaos and a mess, and that mess is no more. So here we have a few trash bags that came out of the cortijo, and you see here things are looking a lot better. Angel has been at this yesterday and also today. We burned also some of the trash. You have to do this also. Here and there we also were able to recover some cables that we had. So suddenly we have a lot of cable, maybe 1 kilometer of electrical cable that we can then reuse. And also in here things have improved, and we have these hooks here at the wall. So tomorrow we will then move this rack here to the other side, and then eventually we can install what is in here. In there is a networking rack, a 19-inch rack, and here there's accessories for that, and this goes then there. Of course we will need to make this a little bit nicer, but once the rack is there we can then start doing all this, and finally I can finish these 2 panels here. So we're getting to this point, and we'll see when we get to this to finish that bathroom here. But we are making progress. It's not very fast, but it's steady, and that is what counts. So that also means that we will be in a position that allows us to host volunteers again, but that requires some planning. But the goal is to be ready for such an event. And once the budget becomes available, I am working on that, then here the concrete slab can then also be built, and we finally can start building our workshop, which then will extend into the house there at the front. What I have on my plate to do, but it requires this 19-inch rack on the wall, is to use another cable and try to connect this via an Ethernet cable instead of a radio link. That should make the whole installation more stable, and I don't have to waste Wi-Fi bandwidth for a camera live stream that runs all the time. This is a lot easier when it is a wired connection. And actually I want to move this here to the other side. It was originally thought like that it sits on top of that post, or probably the first one there. But for that, we also need to make a trench here. But we need this trench anyway, because we want to have irrigation all around the fence, so that we can finally start growing some grapes on that fence and have it look nicer. So say hello to Checker, who just came running and wants to say hello. I just provided them their food. Oh, Checker, yeah. And now she wants to play. So, aus, nein, aus. Yeah, aus, genau. So when they shake their head like that, that means that they understood something. So this is, but of course she wants to play. But she should play with the others. For example, der Schneeflocke. Komm, spiel mit Schneeflocke. Da, ihr zwei. Ja, nein. It can be very playful. But it's usually the females that are so playful. So there isn't that much else that I can show at the moment. But you see, okay, you also see Nummer 8 doing business there. So here, this is now ready for more rain, and hopefully something will then germinate. But there is not that much that I can show you. What I should do, but I will wait until the sun is out again, I should go down there, give you a tour about the Sunhemp and Friends and also the Miyawaki forest. And yes, I will not forget that you want to see the other Palovnia trees that are basically now left on their own. And I can confirm from a last visit, when I had a visitor, but it was in August, that they do exist. They have leaves, they have found water, they have not received any irrigation at all, and so they are established, despite all the scratching by the cows when we had them. Of course, this is a while ago, but they do exist. And as I'm making my way back, I can also show you the sorry state of our nursery. It's not a nursery, it is just that we had these leftovers, and of course we placed them here instead of throwing them away right away. Many have survived the summer despite our challenges with the irrigation, and we will then plant them. So now that the temperatures are right, now that the rain has begun, we can take a tray, see what has survived, and we can then plant them out. So there are some that are very good, and there are others where there is a big problem. So for example, this one here, this one is definitely good. And there are many others, especially the pine trees. And maybe you can see that flock of bird. So there are many of them. So there is more of the pine trees, different variety there. So they are not all dead. There's a lot of green things there. But of course, in those pots, also some weeds started, but that's part of it. Here we have a bunch of oak trees. So we do have quite a few trees that we can spread around. Of course, we have to plant them in an area where we really have irrigation. So that means in the farmyard and very close to it, the areas that have already irrigation, and not try to create another challenge. because our water supply over summer is limited. It will be a lot better once we have the other ponds that we want to make. Again, it is a question of having the budget available, and the question is when that will be, if there will then be enough rainfall to fill them up, or we don't have this water supply for the next summer. So we need to be careful. So I'm walking in here. So not long ago this was filled with water all the way to the top, and what is left is that. So we have a mud puddle. I think in another clip I already mentioned that, but now you can see this up close. So now with the rain, this will then step by step fill again, but you see this is as low as it gets. So it is not completely dry, but 3.5 meter, that is our water level. And below that there is more water. That means a tree just has to cross all this and has roots at the water. And it might very well be that this tree already is in that situation, because what you see on the top is usually what exists below, and this might have tapped into the water. But still, it seemed that it required a little bit of irrigation, which is why we have this device there. So the others, they are not so advanced, but they are also a year younger than the one that I just showed you. So this is basically our situation at the moment. And yesterday I was cutting here also, and you see in a close-up how that looks like. So this is a mix of one small bag, just 50 gram, of Bermuda grass, and then of course the seeds that were already there. And it is creating a very nice carpet, and every time I cut, this becomes better and better. This, by the way, is a cable from our solar system, from the old panels, the ones where we had the fire over there, and the last few days we also had a wind that knocked some of that over again. So this is in bad shape. We need to go there and rebuild something. The plan is to eventually repeat this. So there you see where the sheep are at the moment, and the horse, the Sacarawea. I don't know where the other one is. Can't see her at the moment. But we want to have another structure like that, just right next to it, to the left, which then will give us reliably, whenever there's the sun out, 12,000 watt in total, and that would then be okay for the time being. Right now we have less than that, because it's the 6,000 from there, and then whatever these can produce. So on a good day we get to 9,000. But right now this is in bad shape. But then these panels are also a little bit older, have less power, and I said this before, we want to reuse them for things like chicken tractors or a small system somewhere. So we will not throw them away, we will reuse them. And then they get a second life, basically. Here there's also some progress. So while Angel has been doing other things, I picked up some of these cinder blocks, stacked them there on that pallet. This is basically the other half now. And I should remove them also over the next 2 days, so that then this area can also be populated. And you see there in the center, this is all what emerged naturally. And I have been cutting this down a few times here at the beginning, and you see the grasses are moving in, and that should continue, so that this whole future dock enclosure is completely covered with grass, as it should be. And The trees here, they seemed dead because of the problem with the frost in early May, but they aren't. So all of them have leaves, new branches at the bottom. Who knows what will happen at the top when we are in spring again, but they are not dead. Of course, here you can see, let me show you the detail, how they are making new branches, new trunks from down below. So if this were for wood, then of course this would be wrong, and I would have to cut the whole thing in order to avoid these additional branches. But they are here for shade, and therefore it doesn't matter how clean the trunk looks like. We have no intention to cut them. So therefore it is perfectly fine. So the tree survives by making new branches and leaves at the bottom, and then you see what it does further up. So here you see tiny little branches coming out of the trunk. It depends how high the tree can manage to push the liquid, the sap. And if it can, then it will substitute those branches that have nothing. But maybe this branch also, they are hollow on the inside, can then also be reused by the tree. So here you can see a detail how they look like. Yeah? So you see, they are hollow. And even the bigger one is. Eventually the tree will grow and close the tube, and then it becomes solid wood. But in the beginning, that is what these trees do. They grow very fast by growing tubes, and then once they have grown enough and have enough leaves and therefore enough energy, they will then create solid wood. So none of these trees have died. They're all there. And we will now urinate there and mark the territory. That is totally normal, but the tree is not really affected by that. And what I can tell you is this tree, for example, this tree was toppled over by the horses a while ago. And now it had this problem. I cut away a little bit branches that seemed dead to me. And I probably should have done this with this one and the one to the left also. But it's coming back. Now it's coming back, the second time. So Paulownia trees are great for chop and drop. They survive no matter what. And I'm very happy with the result here of the lawn that I'm growing just by watering and cutting. So this is definitely a technique that works, and it is absolutely not a huge challenge given that there's enough water for doing so. Well, you see, here I did not throw out any Bermuda grass, therefore I have the other grasses. Forage, basically. After all, this is what this whole landscape is all about. And I just have to come here and cut it for mulch. But you see also here other species, and they are helpful in a sense that they will provide the biomass. But I manage the ecological succession by putting pressure on them. So the grass grows back easier and quicker than, for example, the malway here. And so I just cut this aggressively, and the grasses will win. And that's what I want. I want a grassy area, because these other plants, they will grow and shade out the ground, which is okay, but then nothing else grows. And when they then die because of the summer heat, I have no ground cover anymore. So therefore I prefer the grasses and a mix of grasses. The grasses for warm and cold seasons. Now it is cold season that is coming up, but eventually I can also throw into this, if it does not emerge by itself, Bermuda grass seed, and then cut this so that quite a few of the Bermuda grass seeds will germinate and go. And I hear Mr. Cat over there. I need to go there and provide him his bowl with food, because the morning has been too wet. Nobody wanted to go out, but now it's time. I should not forget to mention that these ladies are keeping this whole area clean. So whatever is tasty and green, they will eat, and therefore there isn't that much here. And now that the rain has started, they will have a lot more to forage. So they also make little holes to take a dirt bath, and they like to hide between these taller plants and also there in the back. But they will eat all this, or from this. They will not be able to really eliminate it like they did with the other plants around the chicken house at the beginning of summer, because it wasn't growing fast enough, so they could eliminate it. But now this will become a very good piece, and eventually this fence will be gone, because we have set a while ago those thicker wooden fence posts. There you can see the other one, and that is the new trajectory. The tomatoes that are behind here, they will then be, well, in the middle or outside, we'll see. But this will change, and then this whole area becomes the animal lane. So it goes like that. Of course, the wobblers will then have to sit somewhere else, we will see. And there will be another fence, and then this becomes an animal lane again. At least so is the plan. I don't know yet for what kind of animal and why, but at least that is the idea. So the farmyard will become a little bit smaller, so that this gets back to be outside. This is a quick hack before we have a cable bridge, to get these cables out of the way and be a bit more organized. So it does appear that we have duckweed lemna all over this. So that is very good. That should reduce evaporation and also avoid the algae. We introduced this a while ago and then never saw it again. And apparently it survived and is now coming back. The conditions seem to be right. Now that we are not in scorching heat, this is the temperature range that the plant wants. So we just came here to relocate the cameras, because right now they are not showing anything of interest. And what I can show you is that we got a visit by a wild boar. They are called in Spanish jabalí. And that is why this tall sun hemp looks the way it is. So this animal went in there and uprooted and did some damage, which is okay, that's not a problem. But of course, for whatever we plant here, we need to take this into account, so that these animals will not destroy what we do. So we need to have this properly fenced, so that they can't get in, which is additional work that we need to do. Because now imagine, these were valuable Paulownia trees that we plant for wood and want to take good care of over the span of 10-12 years. And then something like that happens with several of them. That would be bad. Here the same happened, the same wild boar tried to find something in the moist soil that we have around these wobblers, and of course toppled over 2 of them because they try to uproot and find something. No damage happened to the cypress trees that are recovering, so that's good. But of course we need to fence this in. So as we had a visit of a wild boar here, and the installation wasn't right anyway, we took the opportunity and moved the camera now to there. So from this perspective we can then see a little bit more. So this camera shows you basically what you can see at the moment. And if our friend the wild boar returns, we can then also see it, and of course I will share that video with you. And the rain is doing very good. So now what hasn't been growing so far very well should continue to grow, and we have more water available now, and we can actually irrigate, which is a very good thing. The wobbler over there is throwing the water droplets all the way almost to where I stand. So it basically reaches this, and I just added one more for the other system that is behind the house, so that this also gets wet every time, because that makes this compost process and go down. And also it will provide more water for this tree there, and helps that this driveway becomes green. Now I can't really show this from a short distance because I'm going to be wet and I don't want that. But you can see that the grasses are encroaching here on this area. So this will soon also become green. And that is what I want. Those ruts, they will fill itself over time. So I don't care that much about them at the moment. And eventually we will place some mats here to reinforce the soil so that we can drive over it with a heavy vehicle, which wasn't there when the excavator and the dump truck had to pass here. So this is part of step by step getting the farmyard green. And I just got a few droplets in my face where I stand. And over here on the other side, there are also a few changes. One is we have now more cables going over here, but this is not to be a permanent solution. This is going to be like that until we can remove the temporary house, the one here to the right. And then this and that will end up there when something new will show up here. But that's not what I wanted to show you. But inside of this metal protector, there is an Ethernet cable that is being used. This is live, so this is the real thing that connects the antenna on top of the Cortijo. The thing that I wanted to show you is that. So here's another wobbler. I just cut the water line and put this wobbler there. It is supposed to wet the area all the way to here and all around. So grasses will also emerge early here. And with my technique of chop and drop, I can definitely shape this area so that it becomes a grassy area instead of something. So especially all these things that were growing here last spring, I don't want them because those are very tall thistles and I want to keep them short. They will emerge because the seed is there, but by chopping them I can definitely then keep this at bay. Eventually that antenna will also move, but for the time being it needs to be there. And actually I should relieve the tension of that cable. I don't like the way how this looks like at the moment. It happened because it moved there, so I need to fix this. Making videos is also a good thing to observe and learn things that have happened, because the moment I want to show you guys something, I also see it myself. Without that, I would not have noticed this probably, or too late. So let me get a cable tie and improve this. So like that, it looks much better. Now I can go underneath this without crouching down. The only other thing that I wanted to mention, we had a bee problem up there. It still exists, but now the problem has shifted. Now we have rats in the space where the bees made, basically made the nest. Rats apparently and mice also can attack bees and eat their structures and steal the honey and so on. So we need to fix this, and that also means that now is the time to open this wall. So up there are things, panels that we can open. Of course, this is another thing that was not planned, so we need to take care of that because it's an awful sound and something else could happen on the inside. So we rather get to this sooner than later. We are missing a cleaner liquid to clean the gun that we use to apply the spray foam, and without that we would use the gun one time, and those guns are not €2 things, they cost a bit more, so we should clean that and do this properly. So I hope Angel can get this on Monday, and then we can continue to do this. So we need to remove these panels there. They are nailed, so we need to get them out with a pry bar, and then we can screw them back in. So in case that we need to go back, we have now screws and can remove them more easier. But yeah, this is what you get when you have a temporary house. This is not well done. Of course, I have no idea, or had no idea how this is supposed to be. I'm not a builder. That is my first structure that I built ever. And now, of course, I know a lot better. Hindsight is always 20/20, as most of you know.